All right, welcome back to the channel. So it is fight week and we get Canelo Alvarez against another, they used to call them Euro bums. And you can expect a whole lot more of them after Canelo Alvarez does what I predict he'll do in this fight with Callum Smith. Let's talk about that and what Canelo Alvarez is going to do next in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So there is something in boxing called the Mayweather blueprint. And what that is a plan for a fighter to follow the career path of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and do the things that Floyd Mayweather Jr. did in order to make Floyd Mayweather Jr. the biggest financial star, biggest financial success in modern boxing. Right? There's some people who would say Muhammad Ali because of net present value and the percentage of money that is earned by him versus the percentage of money, the amount of money that is earned by the average athlete or the average U.S. citizen. But that is some complicated crap we don't have to get into. Suffice it to say, Floyd Mayweather Jr. made a whole lot of money and he did it in a certain way. What he did was once he got his name recognized, he fought in May and September on Mexican holidays against flat-footed fighters who had Spanish last names by and large. Okay, that's what he did. With the exception of a couple fights to stand out there, like a Manny Pacquiao fight, which was huge, and maybe an Andrade Berto was in there. But, you know, the Mayweather plan started pretty much after the Zab Judah fight and forward. You had a couple like Shane Mosley's in there, but pretty much you knew what you were going to get out of Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his next fight. He was going to fight somebody that had a Spanish last name that was a bit of a plotter coming forward that he can move and avoid and win the fight on. Canelo Alvarez was one of those guys, and he remains one of those guys that are flat-footed and a guy like Mayweather could beat because he can get in and out, right? But the Mayweather plan is still something that is being followed by who? The subject matter of this video, Saul Canelo Alvarez, and you're going to see it again in the fight that we have this weekend, which is Callum Smith. Now, when Callum Smith gets into the ring with Canelo Alvarez, understand 100% full well that everybody in Canelo Alvarez's camp, the matchmakers, and everybody in the building knows what's going to happen in that fight. Canelo Alvarez is going to get up underneath the jab of Callum Smith. Callum Smith does not have enough power to hold off Canelo Alvarez or keep him from getting on the inside of that jab and tearing this dude's body up, hitting him with overhand rights, because Canelo Alvarez has already done this fight before, and he's done it several times. He's already had the Gennady Golovkin fight. He's already had the Rocky Fielding fight. He's already had the Liam Smith fight. He's already had the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight. He's had the Canelo Alvarez fight. Okay? No, not the Canelo Alvarez, excuse me, the Sergey Kovalev fight. The tall, plotting fighter whose only chance is to hit Canelo Alvarez with a jab, straight right hand, and a left hook if Canelo Alvarez is there to be hit with that. But Canelo Alvarez is never going to be there to hit with that. Never going to be there to be hit with that because Canelo Alvarez's upper body movement in the pocket is way too good for guys whose hands are that slow and do not primarily attack the body. So, suffice it to say, or summarize this opinion of the fight with Callum Smith, it's a setup fight. It's just an easy fight that Canelo Alvarez is going to win that follows the blueprint. Now, again, if you look at, I'm going to call this the Canelo Alvarez blueprint. It is a version of the Floyd Mayweather Jr. blueprint, but it is slightly different in that Canelo Alvarez, because he has a lot of pride in this country and because I do not think he wants to mistreat his own people, has decided that he does not want to take the Mayweather blueprint and use it the way that Mayweather used it, which was to do what? Beat up on flat-footed people with Spanish last names. So Canelo said, no, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to beat up a bunch of the same type of fighter, but a little less athletic, even a little less athletic than the ones that Floyd was fighting, like a Maidana or we're just going to go straight to the Callums and the Liams and the Kovalevs. And that's the system that he has in place, right? And if you look at his last 6 fights, or since 2016, Canelo Alvarez has only broken from that mold maybe one time. There was Liam Smith, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Gennady Golovkin 2 times, Rocky Fielding, Kovalev, now Smith, Callum Smith, and Daniel Jacobs. The only one that I'm thinking, and even Daniel Jacobs is still not somebody that is going to be using a lot of footwork. He's not an Arislandi Lara. He's not somebody like an Austin Trout. He's definitely not like a Mayweather. He's not somebody that is going to be moving, staying out of range, and doing all those type of things. He's just, in my opinion, Danny Jacobs is a very, very solid fighter, but he showed that he had severe problems with guys that can manage to cut the ring off and walk him down, like Demetrius Pirog, the guy who originally knocked him out, and the guy that beat him in Gennady Golovkin. Even though a lot of people said that they believe Gennady Golovkin won that fight, that's all well and good. However, Canelo Alvarez really could do what he wanted with Gennady Golovkin. I just think a lot of people scored that fight for Gennady Golovkin because they were hoping that one in particular flat-footed European fighter that plods forward really had Canelo Alvarez's number, right? But no, he did not. He changed. As a matter of fact, he even came in the second fight and just stood right in front of Gennady Golovkin and made Gennady Golovkin miss. There ain't no way Callum Smith is going to be able to hit Canelo Alvarez any more effectively than Gennady Golovkin is. So forget it. He's going to get on the inside of him. More than likely, he's going to knock him out. If it goes the distance, I will be hugely shocked, right? Hugely shocked if that goes the distance. However, the question for me is, what is he going to do? What is Canelo Alvarez going to do in the next fight that he has, right? What is he going to do next? And I'm telling you what I believe is going to be next. It's not going to be any of these guys that we actually want to see him fight, right? Gennady Golovkin fought yesterday in a setup fight against, I can't remember what his name is. I want to say Shmirta, but something with an S. And Gennady Golovkin, I didn't watch the fight because I knew right away. It was like, all right, this is what's going to happen in this fight. They're going to give Gennady Golovkin a setup fight where he's going to look very, very good. And then they're going to try to pitch the idea of a fight with Canelo Alvarez. And I think that is a better chance of the fight happening with Canelo Alvarez now than there was before. But at the end of the day, man, Canelo Alvarez is a very, very good fighter, right? He's a top-notch fighter without a doubt. But these guys are guiding his career away from any real competition, man. And they started doing that stuff back around 2016. The Gennady Golovkin fight, and this is how I called the Gennady Golovkin fight or predicted the Gennady Golovkin fight ahead of time. I thought Canelo Alvarez was going to win the first fight for the same reason that I'm laying out here. That Canelo Alvarez at the time was coming up. You know, that he was coming up, and Gennady Golovkin was showing vulnerability. He showed vulnerability against Gennady Golovkin specifically. Against Daniel Jacobs. He showed that vulnerability against Daniel Jacobs, and Daniel Jacobs showed the ability to stay away and move on Gennady Golovkin. And Canelo Alvarez saw that, or the team saw that, and he capitalized on it, and the fight was made. But this is why I do believe you're not going to see the fight with Canelo and Jamal or Canelo and Demetrius Andrade. You're going to see, more than likely, you're going to see the fights with Canelo Alvarez, maybe Billy Joe Saunders, because even Billy Joe Saunders moves a lot, right? And why you would pick a Callum Smith over a Caleb Plant, at least this stuff looks obvious to me. Anyway, we'll see if the fight turns out like I think it's going to turn out. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.